Hi, everyone. Welcome to our Espresso Shot. My name is Cecile Holt. I'm a partner and private wealth advisor with Arjun Bridge Advisors. Our topic today is mortgages. So I'm joined today by Scott Silverstein. Scott is a mortgage consultant with Caliber Home Loans, and he's been a wealth of knowledge and resources for our clients. So Scott, thank you so much for joining us today. Do you mind?
Appreciate you having me.
Of course. Do you mind if I ask you a couple questions really quickly to help out the folks who are listening?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So we've seen rates hit record lows, and I think it was really mindless to figure out, well, do I need to refinance or not? When rates are in the twos, it's like, well, of course it makes sense to refinance, but now that rates are raising a little bit, when do you have any kind of rule of thumb of when it makes sense to refinance, or when is it a good idea? I mean, obviously everybody knows there's cost involved. So when is it a good idea to really go through this process?
That's a good question. I think it's totally dependent situation to situation, right? I mean, I think if you're going to drop a ton of interest rate, save on your payment, but there's also a few other factors to take into consideration, right? Obviously the break even point. Okay, if you save, let's say, hey, I'm dropping a full percent, but I plan on selling in 6 months or a year, might not make sense. Now
How
again, the
long does
cost.
it take to recoup that? Right.
Right, exactly. So again, the cost of a refinance will vary, maybe a 0.5% of the loan amount, maybe 1% of the loan amount. Again, it just sort of depends on price point, where the home is, what type of property it is. So there are a bunch of factors at play, but I think the biggest thing to consider is how long is this going to take me to break even, and what are my long and short-term goals? I think, obviously the easiest answer is, yeah, I'm saving a bunch of money, I'm going to stay here forever. Great. There's also a few other factors to consider, right? Do you want to shorten the term of the loan? Do you want to stay at 30 years? Do you want to look at a 15-year? Are you trying to pay this off so when you go into retirement, you don't have a housing payment? Additionally, there's some other factors taken into play that are a little bit less rate conscious. Or let's say you have a good amount of equity in the home and you've got a lot of outstanding debt, whether it be, I mean, you name it, car loans. I'm going to do repairs to the house. I've got credit card debt, and those payments could add up to, I've seen people with $500,000, $1,500 worth of monthly liabilities that are not part of their mortgage. Well, if you look at the numbers and you roll it into the loan in terms of consolidating everything into the mortgage, and again, depending situation to situation, it can really help a monthly cash flow where all of a sudden maybe your mortgage payment goes up $300 or $400, but you just eliminated $1,000 of other monthly debt. So all of a sudden, with that math, you're then quote unquote saving $700 a month. So even though your mortgage payment went up, may make sense depending, again, on your sort of debt picture and your whole financial picture.
So the bottom line is talk to Scott, talk to a professional, figure out what makes sense. It's not as easy as
Right.
rates are low or.
And again, I think it depends as well too. So if you have that huge equity number, or huge amount of equity in the house, and let's say even we raise your rate by 1%, potentially, depending on how far along you are in your loan, if we reset it to 30 years, your payment may not change. And if we consolidate all that debt, again, you just have to take a look at it and see if it makes sense. And more so from a cash flow perspective. I mean, if you're paying debt off at 4% versus your credit card, which could be 18, 19%, again, it could make sense. It's certainly situation to situation. It's not telling everybody to roll everything into their loan. But again, if you're sort of maybe not struggling to make the payments, but I've got a lot on my plate here, I'd like to just sort of consolidate it into one easy payment. That is a good tool to use.
Kind of. What about some of our clients have second homes, and are the rules dramatically different to do a refinance on a second home?
Good question. Second homes, no. Second homes should, the interest rate should line up pretty closely to a primary residence. The only difference is you typically need at least 10% equity in a second home, where on a primary residence, you can get away with a little bit less. So that would be the only real caveat to that, is just simply your equity position. But no, second homes, pretty similar to primaries. Investment properties, again, you need even more equity, typically around 25%. And the interest rate will be a little bit higher just because, again, investment properties are viewed at as slightly higher risk to Fannie and Freddie and to any outside investors. But again, situationally dependent, should be able to find something that makes sense, just depending property to property.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for your time. If anybody who's listening has any questions, feel free to shoot them our way, and we'll be happy to have Scott answer them for you. So thank
Thanks so
you so
much.
much for your time.
Appreciate it.